Never before have the palace halls been so silent. A chilly calm descended around the royal estate as the sun sank behind Balmoral Castle, a silence that would soon be broken by the emotional impact of King Charles III's last, unanticipated wish. The king called Queen Camilla to his side for what would turn out to be the most personal and tragic discussion of their decades-long romance in candlelight, a secret room where history and legacy have frequently converged. She was startled, shaky, and unable to contain her tears after hearing what he had to say. Following a lifetime of service, scandal, redemption, and rule, King Charles had little desire for ceremony or titles. No, his final request was much more profound, and it had nothing to do with him. It was about Diana, William, and the future of the throne, and Queen Camilla was unprepared for it. Could King Charles's legacy be changed by this last deed? What caused Camilla to feel as though she had lost him again? This is the secret tale that is rocking the monarchy, from rumors behind palace doors to a very personal farewell, full of emotion, treachery, and legacy. Stay tuned and watch till the end, because what King Charles asked for in his final moments may change everything we thought we knew about the royal family and the woman who stood beside him through it all. In what palace officials called a completely human moment, weak from weeks of chemotherapy, King Charles took Queen Camilla's hand and murmured a dying wish that left her speechless and crying. After fighting for decades to gain public acceptance, Camilla gradually changed from the person who was formerly held responsible for Princess Diana's anguish to a stable, trustworthy queen consort. However, Charles didn't ask her for anything political during that unfiltered, emotional time. He made no mention of titles, responsibilities, or outward appearances. His final wish was incredibly straightforward. If something were to happen to me, I want the future queen to be led by Anne. She is the one I trust the most. Camilla cried down because she understood the weight of such trust, not because she was offended. She had supported Charles during his illness, divorce, and scandal. The monarch, however, was now looking at his sister. Princess Anne had subtly turned into Charles's compass, while Camilla had become his emotional fulcrum. Anne had demonstrated the kind of devotion that never sought praise during her decades as a queen. Under Queen Elizabeth's watchful eye, the siblings learned the silent burdens of monarchy, rode horses, and navigated their strict father Prince Philip's discipline from their early years at Balmoral. When Charles became king, he called Anne late at night to discuss his concerns about public pressure and palace infighting, not William or Harry. In plain terms, a top aide stated, Charles was aware that Anne would never mince words, and it was more important to him than sympathy. For the royal family, the first few months of 2024 were cruel. King Charles was diagnosed with cancer first. The monarchy's reputation was left vulnerable and shattered when Princess Catherine abruptly disclosed her cancer fight. Now, two of its most venerable and adored leaders were withdrawing from public life. During the Queen's reign, the royal machine, which had been flawless, started to falter. The situation was considerably direr behind the palace walls. Charles's vitality was declining as he endured weekly hospital appointments. Palace insiders said he occasionally used furniture as support when performing official tasks, hiding his suffering behind well-tailored suits and smiles. Queen Camilla, to her credit, stepped up to the plate. The calm, wary consort was gone. She was replaced by a woman who was committed to defending her husband and the throne he had spent 70 years to acquire. She went alone to state dinners. She changed her own doctor's appointments so she could sit next to Charles while he was being treated. However, Charles resorted to Anne in the most in-depth discussions regarding the future of the monarchy, not out of coldness, but rather acknowledging Anne's special position. She understood the meaning of serving without a claim. She was not interested in the throne, and she knew what duty was all about. With more than 400 engagements annually, the Princess Royal has long been known as the most diligent royal. She wore recycled outfits, refused full-time staff, and never complained. Anne frequently served as a mediator when tensions arose between Charles and his sons, especially Prince Harry. When others backed off, she confronted Charles with harsh realities. Anne allegedly reminded William when he was unsure of his course, "Who you are is not important to the crown. It has to do with your debt." Charles had the utmost faith in her because of her direct insight. This explains why Anne's advice for the future king was his final wish, rather than Camilla's or even William's. Prince William was being tested in secret, while King Charles withdrew for medical attention. The era of charity galas and ribbon cuttings was over. He was now hosting diplomats, attending high-level government meetings, and examining red boxes, tasks typically performed by the sovereign. He was already behaving like a king behind closed doors, according to sources. He visited community centers without warning and heard people's concerns about rising living expenses, healthcare, and education. This was more than simply leadership for the photo. William was becoming aware of the importance of the crown. The people were witnessing a transformation in the monarchy. Queen Camilla was now more than just a royal spouse. She was a representation of courage and kindness. From being a background royal, Princess Anne had become a vital confidant. Once the future, Prince William was now the present. However, if King Charles is unable to govern, would this trio be able to carry the crown into the new era? The prince who stepped into the storm. Prince William is more than just Diana's son, the heir apparent, and the Duke of Cambridge. He is becoming seen by both the general public and insiders as the calming influence in turbulent times, a representation of peace, fortitude, and solidarity at a time when Britain most needs it. William has demonstrated that he can bear the burden of history with unexpected ease during times of uncertainty, whether brought on by the king's health, changes in politics, or royal transitions. The days of William simply following his father with a few polite steps are long gone. Observers have noted that his voice is more confident and his stance is firmer. People no longer merely stare at him, they now look to him. He is ready to not only inherit the crown, but also to redefine its meaning, as seen by his recent attendance at high-level meetings and his growing collaboration with government officials. According to palace sources, William is now getting official intelligence briefings, meeting behind closed doors with prime ministers, and performing tasks that were formerly only performed by the sovereign. The monarchical apparatus is already gradually moving in favor of King Charles's eldest son, even though he still holds the throne. It's a silent coronation in progress, not a coup. William is not alone in this new stage. Princess Catherine, embarrassing, trustworthy, and much esteemed by the public, is by his side. Their union is seen as a cornerstone of the monarchy's future, not just something to be appreciated. Together, they represent a sort of approachable royalty that strikes a balance between tradition and modern values. The idea that you can be both royal and real is reinforced by their much-praised choice to protect Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis from undue public exposure. William Arthur Philip Louis was born on June 21, 1982, at St. Mary's Hospital. His entrance signaled the beginning of a new era in contemporary monarchy, with the entire world watching him. A father bearing generations' worth of burdens, and a princess the world loved, held the infant prince in their arms. Days later, Buckingham Palace formally revealed his identity, sparking an international interest in the heir of hearts. In a daring departure from royal convention, William made royal history at the age of 9 months by traveling with his parents on a trip of Australia and New Zealand. Diana refused to leave him behind because she was determined to be a hands-on mother. It was a foreshadowing that William's royal career would balance sensitivity with tradition. Diana affectionately called him Wombat, and although they had a cute nickname, their relationship was quite serious. Diana attempted to provide William with something more precious than privilege, such as perspective, through everything from McDonald's fast food stops to candid discussions about life's harsh truths. She became emotionally dependent on William as he grew older. She referred to him as her wise little man, a toddler who consoled her during her darkest hours, according to biographers. Princess Diana's death in 1997 was devastating for both Britain and a 15-year-old boy who was grieving. One of the most eerie scenes in royal history is the picture of William slowly strolling behind her casket with his father, brother, and grandpa. Later on, he acknowledged that the tragedy left a hole that he carried into adulthood with stoic dignity. But instead of shattering him, it strengthened him. It gave him the sensitivity and emotional intelligence that now sets his leadership different. William and Harry inherited more than just money in the years that followed. Diana's wedding gown, jewelry, correspondence, and, most notably, the original sheet music for Elton John's Candle in the Wind, which was played at her funeral, was given to them. The spiritual pattern of their mother's mission, compassion, service, and maintaining humanity in a golden cage, was more than just material. William was already filling the constitutional shoes of a future monarch by the time he was 21 years old. He momentarily replaced the Queen after being appointed a Councillor of State, which was a symbolic but important first step toward becoming king. William immersed himself in internships at the London Stock Exchange, Lloyd's of London, and the Bank of England. before donning his military uniform. To prepare to lead the Duchy of Cornwall, he later enrolled in classes at Cambridge to learn about land and agricultural management. He demonstrated that he was more than just a figurehead at Sandhurst. After being commissioned into the Blues and Royals, he trained as a pilot and went on to save 149 lives while flying rescue missions throughout the United Kingdom. Despite being politically contentious, his 6-week service to the Falklands demonstrated his dedication to duty. William joined the East Anglian Air Ambulance after leaving active military service, flying emergency missions and giving his pay to charity. It was a purpose, not a publicity stunt. He openly discussed the psychological toll of seeing life and death up close, and his commitment to raising awareness of mental health issues, particularly among first responders, is now influenced by those experiences. William transformed Kensington Palace into a logistical centre during the pandemic, even providing the palace lawn for ambulances that needed refueling. His appointment as patron of the Wales Air Ambulance in 2023 demonstrated that his love for public service was not fleeting, but rather deeply ingrained. A Queen's private heartbreak. When William married Catherine Middleton in 2011, everything changed. Their wedding signaled the start of a new royal chapter and was more than just a royal spectacle. William appeared to get more comfortable with Kate by his side. The focus was on maturity, accountability, and determination. The carefree college days were over. A man who was devoted to his expanding family and changing royal duty took their place. By being personable, unified, and delightfully average, William and Catherine revolutionized what a contemporary royal marriage could look like. By 2023, Prince William was well liked, not only in the United Kingdom, but also around the world. According to a significant US survey, he is America's most adored public figure. He routinely outperformed Harry and the Queen Consort in YouGov royal favorability surveys. Combining royal elegance with a contemporary twist, he was named one of the year's best-dressed people by a major British newspaper in 2024. However, William maintained his groundedness despite his renown. Behind the palace walls, friends said he was wonderfully down-to-earth, witty, and friendly. Quietly, on a soggy Tuesday at Windsor Castle, everything shifted. The air was heavy and the sky was grey. As she flipped through old letters in a drawing parlour, Queen Camilla had no idea that her world was about to change. Then there was a tyre noise in the courtyard. Unannounced and unplanned, Princess Anne's Land Rover rolled through the puddles. Anne walked in without a ceremony, and Camilla looked up. No formalities, no idle chatter, just a little urgency. King Charles had made a decision in Highgrove that would change the destiny of the royal family, and Anne had just returned from that place. Additionally, he had requested his sister Anne, whom he trusted, to deliver the message. King Charles made the straightforward announcement that Prince William should start taking on greater royal responsibilities right away. According to Anne, it was regency, not a complete abdication. William would assume control in practice, while Charles would continue to rule in the name. It was awful for Camilla. The tears were about the end of an era, not simply about power. For decades, she had supported Charles through both private conflicts and public hostility. Their combined reign had been her ambition. Now the spotlight was being dimmed as they were entering it together. Later, a lady-in-waiting remembered seeing Camilla by herself, crying and whispering, "He waited his whole life." Charles argued with Anne at his Highgrove office, surrounded by sketches of plants and photos of family members. He was not interested in ruling merely in name. On his terms, he wished to get William ready for kingship. He was not deluded about his age or his endurance. William was the vitality and modernism the monarchy needed. There was one significant distinction between it and George III's 1811 Regency Act. Charles wasn't going insane. He was strategic, calm, and straightforward. He felt that accepting change rather than fighting it was essential to the monarchy's continued existence. Throughout the weeks that followed, Camilla remained resilient. She adjusted. According to others, she started looking for guidance on how her responsibilities would change under a regency. Was she going to be Queen Consort? Which abilities would she keep? Would she be able to head charities going forward? Behind the scenes, she also started coaching Catherine, providing advice, encouragement, and emotional support for what would soon be a heavier crown. According to insiders, Camilla became closer to William and Kate during this period because she was committed to making sure the transfer went smoothly and preserving Charles's legacy. Prince William is not an egotistical king. His calm authority and empathy are hallmarks of his leadership. He gains trust rather than demanding attention. He has thus come to represent a more approachable and humane royalty. Through his efforts to promote mental health through Heads Together and his leadership in environmental issues through the Earthshot Prize, William is demonstrating what royal service in the 21st century might look like: impactful, focused, and modest. What was it that King Charles whispered that made Queen Camilla cry? A royal secret or a last wish? Remember to subscribe to our channel for more royal secrets. Do you think his final request will permanently alter the monarchy? Share your thoughts in the comments section below.